I believe re-examining and reimagining this healing stories will open up new discourse. The church must acknowledge people living with disabilities to lift up their experiences in order to reinterpret these passages for all well-being of all souls, especially ones who are living with disabilities. It is not enough to spiritualize disabilities in the Bible. It is dismissive to reinterpret physical blindness as spiritual blindness. Spiritualizing disabilities erase people with physical disabilities from the biblical text. Jesus proclaimed healing to those who suffered, who experienced blindness, but not in the way we really typically think. Humans have lived for centuries with no way to overcome the disability of blindness. They depended on the families or friends to guide them. In this passage, Jesus was anointed to preach the good news to the poor. His task was promoting radical togetherness. When Jesus healed, he did not only take away the impairment, but he tore down the social barriers that block people living with disabilities from fully taking part of the community. Healing for Jesus was not about curing a disability, but it was about restoration to the community. People living with disabilities, especially people of color, need a place to get their physical and spiritual needs met in an inclusive sanctuary. Our churches are not always welcoming and accessible entries, restrooms, and seating have shut people out of the church. As well, leadership has been occupied by able-bodied clergy who have ignored those living with disabilities. This evil is widely spread. However, we must ground ourselves and hold up our brothers and sisters, especially those with disabilities. Because of COVID-19, we are not in the church buildings today. Many times we are at home, so what does it, the church praise and worship look like for people living with disabilities? This can be lonely. It can cause emotional and spiritual pain. I think we are designed to worship among, to worship with each other. This quote, as a Black clergy living with a disability, during this time, it's been very lonely, isolated, and anxiety filled. I have a hypervigilance, watching everybody and everything around me. There's over 200,000 deaths already in the U.S. But I, along with my sisters and brothers, with living with disabilities, we need to receive the gospel. So I come this morning to ask these questions. How are we reaching and making ourselves available for people living with disabilities to worship? See, God gave me this vision, and I see it unfolding, even in during this time of this lockdown for like 7 months now. Can we give people living with disabilities a chance? We might have to change our ideologies and theologies around disabilities. Everyone knows people living with disabilities. This is not new. People living with disabilities is a part of the human fabric of life. And it is my ministry, my calling, to raise up disabilities every time I can. So I incorporated today's passage through my own experience and through my own spiritual reading of this passage. It would say, "The Spirit of the Lord is upon me, because God has anointed me to bring good news to the people living with disabilities, especially Black people who are living with disabilities. God has sent me to share with people that God's message is here for all. We would recover a community that includes all people living with disabilities. We will stand up and fight with the marginalized. And we will proclaim the year of the Lord's favor. Would you say a silent prayer with me? Amen. Thank you.